Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Thanks for joining us. Here are your top stories.
I just heard some yelling over at the corner, but I didn't think nothing of it. I was yelling around here all the time, eh? And then I heard a gunshot, and I knew something was happening.
You're taking a calculated risk. There are no surprises. You know this can happen.
The government and Trudeau and cabinet need to come to the table to this community to help deal with the fallout that's taken place.
We begin tonight with a police-involved shooting in the downtown core. The Windsor Police Service says one of its officers shot a suspect with a weapon. It happened earlier this afternoon, but the area continues to be blocked off by police. CBC's Jennifer Lagrassa joins me now live from the scene with more on this. So, Jen, what do we know about what happened here?
Well, what we know is that police released a tweet earlier this afternoon, and what they said was that someone was shot, and this was after police got a call that there was someone with a weapon. However, they didn't say what that weapon was. Police say that they were called to this area right here, so Olette Avenue and Wyandotte Street. They say that there's no risk to the public right now, but they're asking them to avoid the area. And one person that I spoke with earlier today was actually working across the street when this all took place.
Just heard some yelling over at the corner, but I didn't think nothing of it. I was yelling around here all the time, eh? And then I heard a gunshot, and I knew something was happening. Then within a minute, it was like 10 cop cars escorting out the area, so they were quick to get here, the police.
Baz told me that he then saw police officers on top of someone who was lying on the ground. He said ambulances were quick to come by and pick them up and take them to hospital. It's unclear the state of the person right now. I did reach out to Windsor Regional Hospital, but I've yet to hear back.
Jen, what can we expect to happen next with a situation like this?
Well, as you can see behind me, there are a few police cars. There's at least a dozen in the area, and they do have the area blocked off. Windsor Police telling me that this scene will likely be held throughout the night. Ontario's Special Investigations Unit, the SIU, has been called in to investigate, and they're normally called in to investigate situations involving police officers, specifically when someone has died or they've been seriously injured, as well as if there's been a report about a sexual assault about an officer, or if a gun has been fired. Now, there's been no further information as of now from Windsor Police and the SIU, but if you are someone that's coming and driving in the downtown, you're going to want to avoid this area as it continues to be blocked. So specifically on Wyandotte from Olette to Pelisher Street, and then Olette Avenue from Elliott Street West all the way to Park Street. Katerina.
Thanks for this, Jen. That's CBC's Jennifer Lagrassa reporting live from the downtown core tonight. A Windsor man has a warning for anyone considering a cruise vacation. Be prepared for rough waters if you catch COVID. He tested positive, was forced to quarantine, and had to pay thousands of dollars up front for a forced 8-day hotel stay after docking. Dale Molnar has more.
I think that if you're going to go on a cruise, you're taking a very calculated risk.
Dave Garlick and his wife, Linda Chakmak, were having a great time checking out the scenery, including glaciers, on their Alaskan cruise last month. But on the second and last day of the trip, Garlick, who was fully vaccinated, tested positive for COVID and had to isolate in a room on the ship. Then, when they docked in Vancouver, he had to isolate in a room at the airport Sheridan.
My wife calls it a writer's retreat. She went online, found 2 writing pads for me, sent them to me. They were there within a day. So I had 4 pens and 2 writing pads and 2 good books to read. So it really wasn't a bad experience for me.
Garlick is retired, so he says it wasn't that big of an inconvenience. He says the hotel treated him well and says the cruise line will reimburse him for whatever the trip insurance won't cover of the $5,700 he had to pay up front. But he does suggest others who can't afford to get quarantined should be prepared.
And if people want to pretend that COVID's gone, then they're really pretending.
While epidemiologist Colin Furness agrees we have to protect against COVID variants coming into the country, he says quarantining people in hotels just puts others in a hotel at risk.
I don't think that quarantine, the way we're doing it, is actually having that much benefit. It would be better if we had one consistent rule, very consistent rule that said, if you've been traveling, you've got to wear a respirator mask outside in public for 10 days.
According to a public health agency spokesperson, Garlick would have had the option to stay at a federal government designated facility where all meals and Wi-Fi would be covered. Garlick opted for what he believed was a more comfortable alternative. This travel agent says if you are going on a cruise, make sure you're insured.
Have your medical insurance all purchased for the whole duration that you're going. Also the cancellation insurance for the whole cost of your trip, because not only is it the cancellation insurance, it's interruption as well.
And she says check with the cruise line to make sure they will cover costs not covered by insurance. The government recommends you make quarantine plans in advance of arrival back to Canada. Despite the unexpected quarantine, Garlick is still supportive of the government's safety measures. This experience hasn't put the couple off traveling. They're now planning a trip to Scotland. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
A federal permit to build a second span of the Ambassador Bridge expires in just a few weeks, and a local MP is asking the government to avoid renewing it given the impact it's had on Sandwichtown.
The federal government recognized their order in council basically froze the area for 5 years and caused problems here, including the boarded up homes and the extension of this issue to the community, and there needs to be compensation for that. So what we're laying out is, first of all, we shouldn't have had the order in council. Second of all, it's had a negative impact on the community.
In 2017, the federal government issued an order in council. This gave the Canadian Transit Company, which runs the Canadian half of the Ambassador Bridge, 5 years to build a second span. It also had other conditions like cleaning up the surrounding community. That permit now expires August 31st. Dan Stamper, president of the Detroit International Bridge Company, sent CBC News an email saying they have no intentions of reapplying for the permit. That's unless the Canadian government drops its requirement for the current crossing to be demolished once the new one is built. Meanwhile, others in the community are also looking for benefits if construction of the Gordie Howe International Bridge doesn't open on time.
If there is a charge because they are not going to be built on time, any of that money should not go back to the federal government. That money could be used to set up that legacy fund.
That impact is coming to
Community
light.
members say they would want money to flow from that legacy fund to nonprofits in the West End. The Gordie Howe International Bridge is scheduled to open at the end of 2024, but a recent report by SNP suggests the bridge opening could be pushed to April 2025. That's because of supply chain issues and labor shortages. However, the Windsor-Detroit Bridge Authority has previously said that they are working towards opening on time. Coachella, Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza, they had nothing on this music festival. It was the event of the year for any alternative music fan. Woodstock 99 touted some of the biggest bands at the time: Slipknot, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Bush. Many hope to revive the similar feeling of the original Woodstock 30 years earlier. But that was not what happened. Instead, it was a night of rioting, leading to injuries and arrests. That night is now back in the spotlight. CBC News was actually there at the start of that event before the mayhem started and spoke with cars full of teens ready to see their favorites live.
You guys drove from Michigan to here?
Yes, we did.
What was the car ride like?
It was a long.
It's fine because we're so excited that we don't care.
It's an event of a lifetime, event of a lifetime.
And what happened over the next 3 days has been the subject of 2 recent documentaries. And there was a local musician who was there that night and played at the music festival. Stacey Janzer is on this story and joins us now live in studio. So Stacey, you spoke with that musician. What does he remember?
Katerina, I talked to Kelly Hoppy, and people may know him better as Mr. Chill from Big Sugar. They played on Sunday, the last day of the festival. He says they got to the venue about 90 minutes before sound check and decided to go check out the grounds with lead singer Gordie Johnson.
So we went out through the opening of the hangar where we were playing, and you know, let's make our way there. And like within seconds, we couldn't believe just the garbage that's a foot, and I mean maybe a foot or more. Like, you know, it wasn't up to your waist, but it was astounding because it'd been, you know, this place was a mess. Obviously there wasn't a lot of you know, staff at the festival dealing with that. There was ATM machines like pushed over, you know, water, $12 a bottle, that kind of stuff. So corporate America's there with all its, you know, and the banks seems so against what the original Woodstock was all about.
Well, they returned to the hangar. They were playing the emerging artists stage quite a ways away from the main stage, and it was pretty empty there. He says it probably could have held 2,500, 3,000 people. So Hoppy wasn't sure exactly what to expect when they took the stage.
I don't know, 5 minutes before we got on stage, we're peeking out from sort of behind this little partition and going, oh my gosh, look at all the people coming in here. And they're like kind of streaming in. And then we went, oh, Canadian flags, face painted, with the flag and things like that. And they filled the place. It was like doing a show in Edmonton or Vancouver or Toronto from that point of view. And yeah, I guess we were, you're surprised by it in that it was, oh yeah, and then somebody just said anecdotally, yeah, well, these fans, these Canadian fans are supporting their Canadian bands, and that's why they're there. That aspect of it was, yeah, fantastic,
He says the band packed up after the show and headed home. As working musicians, he says they were probably playing another show the next day.
And Stacey, when did he learn about what actually happened after they left?
Well, Hoppy says it wasn't actually until they were back in Toronto and turned on the TV, because the internet wasn't exactly a big thing at that point, and that's where they heard about the mayhem that spilled out into the festival.
Seeing it on real, over-the-air TV news, like, what? Like the mayhem of that fire burning down the main stage and the looting and then also in those news reports hearing about women were assaulted all throughout the weekend, and none of that. Of course, we knew when we were the short time we were there, but obviously that was just eye-opening. You felt, oh, geez, this is awful what was going on at that place,
Woodstock 99 was just one of the many music festivals Big Sugar played that year. Hoppy says a couple weeks later, they actually played the Edmonton Folk Festival as an acoustic duo with Gordie Johnson, a completely different scene. He says it was well organized in a beautiful, pristine area, and that it really capped off the whole summer festival experience for him. Katarina?
Thanks for this, Stacey. CBC's Stacey Janzer live in studio tonight. To international news now. Kabul fell to the Taliban a year ago today, putting the Islamic fundamentalist group back in charge of Afghanistan after a 20-year war. As Marina von Stackelberg tells us, Canadian military veterans are still working to get thousands of Afghans to safety here.
1 year ago, this was the scene at the airport in Kabul. Afghans desperate to escape crowd the tarmac and grasp at the sides of a U.S. Air Force plane, some falling to their deaths. American troops and their allies, including the Canadian military, pulled out of Afghanistan.
The Afghan flag being taken down.
The Taliban had already established power in other parts of the country. It swiftly moved in to take Kabul and control of the country, ending a 20-year war.
That's me right there.
Brian McDonald heads up a group of veterans and former interpreters working since then to bring Afghans to Canada.
We watched that terrible situation unfold. We served in Afghanistan with these interpreters, with many of these people that were trying to help. And when we were unable to get them out a year ago, it was devastating. But since then, we've come together, we've doubled down, and we've been able to get 3,000 people out.
But it's a slow and dangerous process to get the passports needed to leave.
These people that have helped Canada now have to stand up and go to an office that's controlled by the Taliban and give their name and address and the dates of birth of their children.
This June, Pakistan agreed to a 2-month window. It would let Afghan refugees already approved to come to Canada across its borders without a passport or visa. But so far, few have been able to make the journey.
We were hoping it would be thousands, and it ended up being dozens. We're dealing with the Afghan-Pakistani border, and it's a very wild place, and so messages aren't always clearly communicated, but we believe the window may still be open.
To date, the government says more than 17,000 Afghan refugees have made it safely to Canada. But it's been criticized for abandoning Afghans who assisted Canada in the NATO-led effort. Another 18,000 refugees are still waiting.
I think we can hold our heads up high when we think about our response compared to that of our allies. There's a lot more work to do.
Last month, Canada stopped accepting new applications for its special immigration program for Afghan refugees who helped Canada during the war. McDonald hopes that will change.
We are still grinding away every day, moving people out of Afghanistan, and we're just going to keep doing that until we get as many people out as we possibly can.
Marina von Stackelberg, CBC News, Ottawa.
Canadian home sales and prices tumbled for a fifth straight month in July. Figures out today from the Canadian Real Estate Association show the national average price for a home is down 4.5% from a year ago. The average price of a resale home in Canada is now $630,000. That number falls by more than $100,000 when the big and expensive markets of Toronto and Vancouver are taken out of the calculation. Sales also slumped considerably in July, falling 29% compared to last year. In Windsor, the average price of a home last month was about $558,000, still a tad higher than same time last year, but a drop of more than 20% from earlier this year. And to other local news now, it's called Speaking Out, Uteruses Unite. A new variety show in Windsor is addressing the abortion bans that are happening in the U.S. It's also raising some funds for local women's charities. The show features local female performers alongside members of the LGBTQ and BIPOC communities. It includes everything from drag to burlesque to slam poetry. And our Jacob Barker got a sneak peek.
Oh no. I eat boys like you for breakfast, one by one hung on my necklace.
It's important to me because I want to show solidarity with basically women all over the world. Like, yes, this is hitting the U.S. This has also been an issue in other places, and Canada really isn't off limits to having rights like this stripped away from them. Like, we are lucky with what we do have now, but that doesn't always mean it's going to be protected. So it's definitely us trying to band together, show support, and also keep it in the forefront of not just sitting there, like do something, even if it's an awesome art show that brings awareness, that brings in like charitable donations to where we need it to go to support this cause.
As an artist, I thought it was really important to find a way to put our voices out there, to support our women, and to make sure that we maintain those rights here, and that the government knows that, like, we don't want the pro-life to be forced upon us here, and we want that right to continue to be in place. So as an artist, the only way I know how to do that is by acting, and as a collaborator, the only way I know how to do that is by like grabbing other females in the community to come out and put their art on. And to I think Windsor's theater scene is pretty great. Like, we have a lot of musical theater, we got a lot of plays, and that's great for entertainment. But I think we're pretty hungry for theater that has to do with something bigger.
Uteruses Unite takes the stage this Friday at the Rockstar Music Hall in Windsor, and doors are at 7 o'clock. Let's take a live look outside there. A gray day today. You can see that just looking at the bridge there. And it looks like it's going to be a similar story for tomorrow as well. Dahlia Ashry will be here right after the break with a closer look at our weather forecast. Welcome back. We are learning more information in the last several minutes on the police-involved shooting in downtown Windsor. Ontario's Special Investigations Unit is leading the investigation. In a statement, it says that the man who was shot by a Windsor police officer was 70 years old. The SIU says he was holding a machete and threatening people. And they added that there was an altercation between police when an officer deployed a taser and then another officer shot the man, and he was taken to hospital in unknown condition, and we will continue to keep you posted as we learn more information. It is time now for a weather update, and for that we've got Dahlia Ashry joining us now. Dahlia, quite a gloomy day today, and I think it's looking to be a similar story tomorrow.
That's right, and if you didn't bring your umbrella today, Katarina, you're going to need it tomorrow for the days to come, because you will be expecting some scattered showers and a risk of thunderstorms over the next few days, but have no fear, the sun is near towards the end of the week. Now, we are sitting at normal seasonal temperatures. At the normal high for this time of year is 26 degrees, sitting a bit above that, 28 degrees today, the normal low 16, and today's low is 18 degrees. So seasonal temperatures right where we're supposed to be. Current temperature in Windsor, 27 degrees. Sarnia, 24, so a little bit more on the cooler side in Sarnia and Chatham-Kent. It's supposed to be 23 degrees there, and London, 26 degrees as well. Now, there's a bit of humidity today with that gloominess, but not so much. I mean, it's feeling like 30 degrees, and Sarnia, 29. What to expect overnight? Will there be rain? Well, not so much. Mostly right now throughout the evening, it's going to be foggy, clear skies throughout the evening. It's more so tomorrow afternoon where you can see that risk of a thunderstorm. That's that yellow and green activity right there, and that will be going on until Tuesday evening. It will be a little bit more clear by the evening, but then Wednesday, again, there's that risk of a thunderstorm and that activity, that precipitation activity, and that's coming also throughout the GTA as well, same thing. And as we head into Wednesday evening, things start to clear up a bit heading into Thursday. Now, what to expect tonight? Temperatures will drop and cool down a bit. Windsor, 15 degrees, and 15 degrees in Leamington and Chatham-Kent. 30% chance of rain tonight, scattered showers mostly, but for the most part, it'll probably be partially cloudy tonight. Tomorrow and Wednesday, like I said, that's when you should be expecting those damp conditions. You get a bit of a break on Thursday, some sunshine, so you can put your umbrella away, and the plants get a break as well. And same thing for Friday, Saturday. It really ramps up the damp conditions, 70% chance of rain and a risk of thunderstorms. So what the plants need, just some water, just some sunshine, and you know, we can use a little bit of break once in a while too. Katarina?
Exactly. Thanks for that, Dahlia.
Thanks, Katarina.
When we come back, we'll have some more news updates for you. Stay with us. There's a field of dreams in southern Manitoba. People there are coming from far and wide for a serious selfie. And the backdrop to their fun photo is rows and rows of eye-catching sunflowers. But more importantly, the experience helps feed people in need. Emily Brass explains.
Wow, look at this. This is going to be a good picture. Yeah. This explosion of yellow is right in the middle of southern Manitoba.
It's great fun. It's a great thing to do with the grandkids and, a nice day. Good drive. It's perfect.
That makes fields like this a great spot to snap a selfie, but that can mean trampled crops. Not all farmers are as welcoming as Dean Taves.
Part of the idea also came from some of the tension that comes with farmers and city people when they come out to the field. They want to see the sunflowers, but it's essentially trespassing unless they have permission. And so we thought, what if we gave people permission to come and enjoy themselves in the field?
It was really nice that there's a place that welcomed us onto their property to take their photos, and I could post on Instagram and not get in trouble. That way. Yeah.
Taves made trails for people to walk around and leave a donation. That money and proceeds from the crop go to Canadian Food Grains Bank, which helps feed people around the world.
The Taves family opened up the sunflower field pretty spontaneously last year to guests. They still managed to raise $2,000 in cash donations and made another $20,000 off the sunflower crop. And this year, they expect those numbers to grow.
So you get one Instagrammer with a lot of followers, and then all of a sudden there's lots of Instagrammers coming out to do copycat pictures.
One more, 1, 2.
We would like to help and donate something for the community.
For Taves, there's another benefit, introducing city people to farming.
As time goes on, as people are more separated from agriculture, it's just a pleasure to have people enjoy what we do.
All the more reason to smile for the camera. Emily Brass, CBC News, McGregor, Manitoba.
That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor, and we will have updates there on the police-involved shooting that happened this afternoon. We're also on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great night.